everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Hello, hello. It's been a minute since I was last on. It's probably a week since I last came live. I ran out of free hours. StreamYard gives you 20 free hours, like on its free package. And for the first time ever, I ran out of free hours on MichelleAfterDark. But this has got a different account because I'm clever. So I've still got hours to use up on this one. But yeah, there we go. But we're here to talk about the Idaho 4 murders. So I'll just wait for a few more people to come in before I start going through the updates. As you can see, I'm on camera. I finally remembered to bring a light that I got downstairs, upstairs. I don't like it. I'm going to have to mess around with it. It's like washing my face out and then putting these really weird shadows on everywhere. So I'm going to have to play around with it to get it better. So I'm going to turn my camera off in a minute because it's getting on my nerves. It's getting on my nerves being able to see myself. But yeah, hello everyone who's in. Oh, your lunch is over. Well, I hope you had a good lunch and I hope you catch up on the replay. Hi, Diana. Amanda. Well, I would say that the only good update would be that an arrest was made, that they'd actually nailed the guy. But no, unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. My plan today is to go through the updates from the last 24 hours. So this is what I would have done today in my video, but because Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit was released last night my time, about 24 hours ago, I had to do that. I had loads of people requesting me to go through it, so that's what I did today. So I'm catching up on the latest developments. So I thought we might as well do it together. I have been saving some stuff. I save some stuff on Twitter, like interviews and stuff. And I also save updates on my PowerPoint file that I've got running. I've actually got 2 running on this case. So I'm even confusing myself now because I've got 2 different PowerPoints. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way I roll. So who else have we got in? Brenda, Buddha in a beanie. Donna, your local grandmummy. I'm glad you're enjoying your gift membership. That's over on the other channel. This channel doesn't have memberships because I don't need people to pay twice to be a member. Just join the other channel. If you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, then go over to MichelleAfterDark and join that. It's just 1 tier. And I don't have them on this channel. Linda, Janie, Sassafras Kath. A dreary day on the east coast of the States today. It's been fairly nice here. It's cold, but it hasn't been raining for once, which is good. It's drying up the mud a little bit. Who else have we got? Dawn, Susan, RZTV, how do you pronounce your name? Sherry, rainy Massachusetts. Oh, we'll probably get the rain tomorrow then, or the day after. Thanks for that. A dirty fresh tree hugger from the rainy Appalachians. Cold in Michigan, says Butter in a beanie. Cook 13 Doodle. Ashley's in Pittsburgh. Snow on the mountain peaks of Arizona. Be freezing East Texas. It's raining in southeast Pennsylvania. It's definitely going to rain here then. I bet you any money it rains here tomorrow or the day after. Mary's in Dallas. CC, Amy. La Noel, somewhere in Canada. Very good. Gypsy Girl, Diane, Stephen, Jackie, Cecile, Samantha, and a whole range of other people. So we're getting a few people in now. All right. Oh, it's cold and rainy in East Tennessee. Hot in Perth, Australia. You're making me jealous now. You're making me jealous. It seems that the entire East Coast, from top to bottom of the US, is raining. So it's definitely going to rain here. Definitely. Right. Less of the weather updates. Let's turn the old camera off because it's this light's bugging me. And I can turn this light off. It's getting on my nerves. It's winding me up. I don't like artificial light. It gives me a headache, especially when I'm reading stuff. So that's better. That's better. That's better. I originally scheduled this for like past. It's like 7, just gone 7 p.m. in my neck of the woods. I originally scheduled it for 7:30 because I was waiting for the Jared Lysek cold case to come on, and the judge stopped it. Did anybody see it? The judge stopped it because there was YouTubers streaming it, and it's against the law in Utah. So court had to be adjourned, and all the court, like they'd done loads, they got through loads, and then the judge adjourned and said, taking a short adjournment. And then she came back and she said, I have reason to believe that people are live streaming this on YouTube. Oh dear. So yeah, if anybody caught that, it's pretty funny, but it's not funny. It's not funny. I was watching it. I knew better not to stream it because if you're on WebEx, because I've got WebEx, like I could just log on. Like I downloaded WebEx ages ago, so I could watch court proceedings when they appear on WebEx. But I thought there's no way I'm going to stream it because you have to agree that it's not to be broadcast. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, Duty Ron had his mic on unknowingly. I know he did. I know he did, and I felt really bad for him because he's normally so respectful, and I don't think he was going to stream it live. From what I understand, I don't think he was going to stream it live. I think he was just going to give a commentary. I might be wrong on that because I was flitting between about 3 different streams. So yeah, there's that. So for those of you expecting an update on Jared Lysek's court appearance, it was only a hearing. I don't think there was anything groundbreaking going to be scheduled for it. But I was going to just mention it in my video tomorrow, like what the outcome was. But no, we got to wait for a new date now. Duty Ron is a great guy. You're right. I really like Duty Ron. Yeah, he was just doing commentary. Yeah. Yeah, I was watching Duty Ron. I was watching another one as well. No, Christy, he wasn't live. He was watching it. He was watching it on WebEx. So WebEx, it's like Zoom. It's just like another program. It's like Zoom. So like loads of people can log on. So I could have logged on and been watching it live. He was in his car. So he wasn't actually in the court. He was streaming live from his car. But yeah, I felt bad for him. Especially as he was, I think, going to be respectful and not actually stream it live, but just give the commentary on it. Because it didn't have his... Right, so do any of you use Zoom? If you use Zoom or any of like StreamYard, if you've ever been on a panel in StreamYard, you can mute your mic. So like when I play a video, I mute my mic so you can't hear me while the video's playing, right? So Duty Ron, for whatever reason, his mic had come off mute. So you could hear him talking. So I think it was just an unfortunate mistake because he was on mute because he was he was in his car talking to his audience, and he was definitely on mute because I was watching it live, like the court proceedings live on another channel. Whilst that was also running, I was watching 2 streams. So I know Duty Ron was muted. And then for whatever reason, while the judge was adjourning the court, his mic came off mute. It was a mistake. Whatever he did, it was a complete mistake. Yeah, there was nothing purposeful or malicious or anything like that about it. Duty Ron is a respectful guy. He runs his channel very professionally, you know, and I'm sure that he's not happy with himself. For whatever reason that happened, could have been for any number of reasons that his mic came off mute, you know. But yeah, so that's how it goes. So you log on to WebEx just like you log on to StreamYard or you log on to Zoom, but you mute your mic so that the judge and the court can't hear you either talking or eating or drinking or whatever, you know. In the days when we were on lockdown, like I did all my work on Zoom. I was working for a university at the time. So I used to have like a room of students. I'd have like 50, 60 students in a room and, you know, everybody was muted. And fortunately, if any student decided to come off mute, I could mute them from my end because we had some really interesting moments, you know, like little kids coming on camera, dogs, cats. We had the whole lot, right? We had a parrot once. You know, just do a drop in, like a drive by, a flyby. But anyway, let's get on with this. So that's just what happened for the Jared Lysek court hearing, just in case anybody was expecting an update today. There won't be one. That's going to be rescheduled for a different day. All right, so let's go on to the cat lawyer. Let's go on to Idaho 4. The Idaho 4 murders. So I don't know where to start, really. I guess I'll start with the latest police update. Now, let's just be clear, for those of you who've just come in, there are no major, big, groundbreaking updates that have happened in the last 24 hours. What I'm doing on this stream is just going through some of the stuff I would have talked about in my video this morning had Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit not come out, because that's what people wanted me to talk about today. I had loads of requests to go through it, so I did. So I didn't do Idaho 4 this morning as I planned to do. So I'm going to go through some of those updates that I was going to give, and then there's some other stuff that I want to show you as well. Some of this you might have seen if you've been following the case very, very closely. Some of this you might have seen on other channels, or you might have seen it on Twitter or wherever you get your news from. And I'm going to be playing a number of clips, and it's going to be interesting because I've got a couple of clips from News Nation, and they always copyright claim. I've got a short clip from Good Morning America. They always copyright claim. I think I've got one from Fox News. They sometimes copyright claim. So I don't know what's going to happen if all 3 of those copyright claim my video. What are they going to do? They're going to have to fight it out amongst themselves who owns the rights to it. So that's going to be up to them. So I'm just going to play them. And then if they copyright claim me, well, whatever. They can't all copyright claim me. I suppose they can, but they'll not get anywhere. All right. So we'll start with the updates that I was going to talk about this morning. So latest police update is this. This came out last night. I've just put the kind of most relevant bit up here on my PowerPoint. So this is just another appeal. They've done this before, but it's just another appeal for basically information. Detectives are looking for context to the events and people involved in these murders. So I thought that was just a really interesting sentence. I don't know what you thought about it. Like, it's just a really interesting way to word it, in my opinion. So looking for context to the events and people involved in these murders. So I don't know whether they're trying to say there's potentially multiple murderers. I don't believe there is. I think it might be just talking about people who might know things, might know something. That's how I read it, but I don't know. To assist with the ongoing investigation, any odd or out of the ordinary events that took place should be reported. Our focus is the investigation, not the activities. And again, I thought that was interesting, and I'm not taking this out of context. This is basically the sum total of the update. I've not just cropped this to make it sound more mysterious than it is. This is actually what they said. So I don't know whether they're talking about drug taking that some people might have engaged in, or I don't know, right? Maybe trying to put students at their ease, that they're not interested in if anybody was underage drinking or drug taking. They're not. They just want to know anything unusual or strange or just out of the norm, I guess. Your information, whether you believe it's significant or not, might be the piece of the puzzle to help investigators solve these murders. So those are the tip lines. Thank you, Sherry, for the $5. Thank you for your hard work, Michelle. You're very welcome. I do enjoy it. Thank you so much. So the telephone number for anybody who might have a tip to call in is 208. You can see, hold on, I'm going to put this on. How come you can see? I'm going to put this on full screen. Hold on a minute. Because you can see the chat. That's weird. Does that look better now? Be able to see it easier. There's quite a lag. Anyway. So 208-883-7180. Email tipline@ci.moscow.id.us, and digital media goes to the FBI, fbi.gov/Moscow, Idaho. Why is that not showing up? That's weird. Can you see my PowerPoint? You can't now, but can you see my PowerPoint? You can't, can you? That's weird. What's going on here? Hold on a minute. Oh, I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. Sorry, guys. I know what's wrong. I've got to share my entire screen here. There we go. Not just, I was just sharing a window, so you couldn't see my PowerPoint. Okay, so that's just what I've read out. That's the latest update. There we go. It's all fine now. There we go. It's all fine now. Okay, so they're looking for the context of the events, people involved, to assist with the ongoing investigation. Any odd or out of the ordinary events that took place should be reported. Our focus is the investigation, not the activities. Your information, whether you believe it significant or not, might be the piece of the puzzle to help investigators solve these murders. So I don't think they've got a suspect in mind. And some of the interviews that they've done, they did one, the prosecutor did one with Brian Entin, which I'm going to play you. And I don't think they're being coy. I don't think they're being, they're being economical with the truth, so to speak. I genuinely think they don't have anybody in the frame at all for it. At this time. So let's move over to Twitter. And as I said, I'm starting from 24 hours ago, and I'm just going to work through the clips that I saved. So I was going to talk about this guy this morning, had it not been for Richard Allen. Can I take down the pinned comment? Yeah, I can. I can take down the pinned comment. There you go. Okay, this guy. Now, this guy has had a lot of interest, shall we say, from YouTubers. And I've got to say, I feel sorry for him. I really do feel sorry for him. A lot of people think that his behaviour has been suspect. He looks sus. Some people say that he smiles inappropriately. Some people say he reminds them of Chris Watts. Some people say that he's done too many interviews and he's involving himself. I don't see any of it. I really don't see any of it. I see a guy who's a bit socially awkward. I see a guy who maybe smiles when he's nervous. I see a guy who has been asked to do interviews and he's agreed. And he's come out and spoken to the media. This is to Court TV. So this was from yesterday. So I know a few channels I think I've seen one or two channels play this clip. Hilbury Bilbury, he is called Jeremy. He's a neighbour. He lives very, very close to the house. Yeah, he did, John. He admitted he was an awkward person. I mean, I've got to say that I would be Jeremy. I've got to say I would be Jeremy because I'm quite socially awkward, but I would agree to be interviewed. Right? I would agree to be interviewed because I'm that kind of person. You know, if something happens in my local community, then you better believe I want to know about it. You better believe that I'm going to be out there wanting to know what's going on. And yeah, I'd be a suspect. In the eyes of YouTube, the eyes of social media, I'd be a suspect. Like, look, in the eyes of social media, I'd have been a suspect in my son's death. My son that died of a dangerous driver, right? But I was able to do everything. I went to a job interview 5 days after he died. I just carried on my normal life whilst arranging a funeral and dealing with a police investigation that ended up lasting over a year. It lasted a year, 13 months it lasted from the time of his death to the sentencing hearing was 13 months. And no one knew, apart from obviously the local community knew, but no one at my work knew because I got a new job in the interim period between him dying and me starting, and then I started a new job, and no one knew at work. And to attend the sentencing hearing, which was 13 months later, so that would have been how many months? 8 months after I started my new job, I had to tell my boss because I was attending the sentencing hearing. I was going to have the day off, and it was one of those crucial weeks in the university calendar where you're not allowed to take annual leave. So I had to go and see her to get a special dispensation. And she was like absolutely gutted that I'd not told her. It's like, I didn't need to tell you. It's completely separate. It's all done. He's pled guilty. This is his sentencing hearing. It's all done. But the point I'm making is, in the eyes of social media, I was able to function perfectly well. No one would have known from my behaviour at all. I organised everything. Look, right. and this isn't about me, but this is very relevant to the way social media behaves, and it pisses me off. I've got to tell you, it pisses me off that social media does this. And yes, I am part of social media. I'm part of the problem, right? But it's important to think about it. What would you do in that situation? Are you a socially awkward person? If so, can you not recognize that in someone else? Or are you going to give someone the benefit of the doubt because they choose to do 3 interviews? Or are you just going to say that they're sus and just follow the crowd? I don't know. I don't know. But the day after my son was killed, so he was killed on the early hours of the Sunday morning, right? And the police met with us. We did a press statement, identified the body, all just like the paperwork and the nonsense that you have to do when someone dies. And then the Monday, and they said that the person that did it, they'd found his car, like completely wrecked. They'd found his car. They'd found who that car belonged to, gone to his house, and he made a significant statement, and then chose to clam up and get a lawyer. But when he opened the door to the cops, he said, "I know why you're here." And then they walked in and he went, "He's dead, isn't he?" And that was the significant statement. So they were able to tell us as the family that he'd made a significant statement. We did a press release and then wouldn't talk to the media again until the sentencing hearing. And then they wouldn't tell us who this guy was because he was out on bail. It was just a thing, right? But they wouldn't tell us what his name was until the end of the police investigation. But so he died on Sunday. By Monday lunchtime, I knew who he was. I knew who all his family members were, where they lived. I was stalking them all on social media to make sure that they weren't saying anything stupid. I was telling everybody who he was to make sure that everybody had eyes on him. And then I had family members in the village that he lived in. So I had spies who were like literally a few doors down from me, spies with eyes on him for the entire time he was out on bail. Right. So I said to this cop, I said, "Look, right, let's just stop messing around. I know his name's John Murphy. Right, say yes or no." And and he said, I can't tell you his name. I said, "All right then, if his name is John," I said, "if his name's John Murphy, which I know it is, don't say anything." So he just smiled. So yeah, and I was able to get details that the police didn't have, and yeah, it was a thing, right? I had an investigation going, a whole investigation going. But me and the police worked together really nicely. Like, I didn't overstep the boundaries. But if this had been more of a high-profile case, and the media had been bugging us, right, and been bugging neighbours, and been like, didn't happen in my village anyway, so they could bug my neighbours as much as they wanted. But if they'd been bugging the local community, if it had gone really high profile, if it was a thing on social media, then I would have gone out and spoken. I mean, my youngest son, who still lives with me, just the other day, we had this, he's been following the Idaho 4 murders as my son, like, because obviously he's a university student. So, it's interesting to him, and he's interested in true crime anyway. So this is my youngest son, who's not dead. And he said to me, if I was murdered, you'd be all over social media, wouldn't you? You would be everywhere on social media. I said, I would. I absolutely would. He said, well, look, he said, if I get murdered, you have got my permission to monetize me, to monetize my death. I said, thanks. He said, you don't need to take the monetization off your videos. You've got my permission. So there you go. There you go. That's just the way we roll in this household. But I would have been everywhere. But social media would have thought I was a suspect because I didn't cry. I did not cry. I still haven't cried. I've not cried. Right. I'm scruffy. Don't often wear a bra. Right. Only if I go somewhere special. I brush my hair occasionally, usually when I'm going to come on camera on live streams. And I wear like 20-year-old clothes. And look, I would have been as hated as Candice Wells. I really would have been as hated as Candice Wells, because I would have been very matter of fact. I would have been talking to people, not drunk, not having a shit on camera. I wouldn't be Don Wells, right? Let's just be clear about this, right? Angel talks too fast, so will give me the exclusive. Thank you. So yeah, this isn't to say that I don't think Candice Wells is suspect. I think there's things about Candice Wells that really trouble me. They really do. They really trouble me. But you've just got to be careful. So back to Jeremy. That was a very long preamble just to say I understand how these people feel, right? That I've been through this. I've been through having my stepbrother go missing for 2 weeks, nearly 3 weeks, when I was young, days before the internet. Again, that would have been a whole thing. If YouTube was a thing when my stepbrother went missing, when I was 14, he was 19, I would have been all over social media, and I'd have been a suspect because I'd have been out there, right, everywhere. Filming searches and stuff. I would have been doing stuff that looked suspect, right? We found him, he came back, the police got him, and he was fine and he didn't die. But this is the point I'm making. I've been through having a missing family member. I've seen my dad, who I'd never saw cry ever. I talked about this in a video when Dylan Rounds first went missing. I talked about this in a video, that my dad just broke down. Like, I'd never seen my dad cry, and he just broke down, because we're a blended family, right? So my dad brought me up, but he wasn't my natural dad. He was my stepdad, and he was my stepbrother's natural dad, right? But we all lived in the same house. And when he went missing, he was schizophrenic. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. This is a brother, not my dad. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, hadn't taken his medication. He was considered a high risk. So, normally when an adult goes missing, they don't really pay much attention. But no, he was a vulnerable person. It was an all APB out throughout the entire UK. And he was found 400 miles away, right at the top of Scotland. And I'd never seen my dad break down like that. And I got the call. It was in the middle of the night. Inverness Police rang us in the middle of the night. I was up because I never slept when I was a teenager, and I took the call, got my dad up, and my dad just burst out crying, got himself together, put his clothes on. My mum made some sandwiches, and they drove 400 miles to go and get him, and then they drove 400 miles back to bring him home. Right? I've seen what it does to a family to have a missing person. But I would have been the suspect. And anyway, less of me. I hope I've kind of made it clear where I sit with this kind of stuff, right? But I am part of the problem. I admit I'm part of the problem, because when somebody does look suspect, I say so. Like Sammy Smith from the Kylie Rodney case. Right, there was something about that girl that I didn't like. but it's so difficult when you're a YouTuber not to say what's on your mind. But I promised myself after the Kylie Rodney case that I was going to be much more careful what I said, right? About everybody who speaks, whether it's someone involved or whether it's a neighbor like Jeremy who's doing an interview, whether it's family members. I am going to be very careful. That's why I'm not making videos about this suspect or that person of interest, because there aren't any, right? Denise, you're absolutely right. Organ donors are the most special angels, so are the families. Yeah, we wanted my son's organs donated, but it'd been basically mangled. Let's be brief. They couldn't take anything. All right, so let's play Jeremy's interview. It's only a minute and a bit. It's on Court TV. I don't know how Court TV feels about people playing their stuff. All of what I'm playing is fair use, all fair use. But if they copyright claim, they'll fight it out amongst themselves. Okay, so this is Jeremy. So for those, I kind of agree with you, Minnie. She's sketchy. There's something about that girl. I think what it was, with Sammy, I think what it was is she wasn't really Kylie's friend. I don't think there was anything nefarious. I think she wasn't really Kylie's friend. She was loving the attention. And I don't think there was anything more to it than that. And she was having to make stuff up and lie because, she was Kylie's best friend. And she really wasn't. She really wasn't. She just liked the attention. She liked being like the big I am in the community. I think that's all there was to it. But for those just coming in who are wondering what on earth I'm talking about, this is a neighbour who lives very close to the house. And he's spoken a few times, done a few interviews. Lots of YouTubers think he's sus. And he's come out on Court TV and addressed those issues. So let's play this. And it's very low. And this is, I don't know, I've got it up as high as I can. I've got my volume up as high as I can. It's just a very low. So I don't know what to tell you. But I'll reiterate what he says once the clip's over.
About people basically comparing me to Daniel or Stephen McDaniels, and then just going through all of my social media history, finding posts from a decade ago, and just saying, oh, it must be him. Obviously, it's him. He's done interviews. Why else would he do these if he didn't do it? He wants to be close to the crime scene.
So he's saying that people on social media are comparing him to Stephen McDaniel, that weird guy who did that, involved himself in a case, and he was the murderer. And yeah, so
I didn't do it. I have nothing to hide. I'm willing to give DNA, fingerprints, whatever they need.
So he says he didn't do it. He's willing to give DNA, fingerprints, whatever they need.
But yeah, it's just upsetting being compared to a murderer when I didn't do anything. I'm naturally an awkward person. Just my mannerisms, the way I talk. A lot of things have been online about, oh, when he was talking, he went from present tense to past tense, one of his sentences, partly because everyone corrects themselves when they're talking.
So a big thing that ill-equipped to deal with these things YouTubers do is focus on tense, right? A lot of people in normal speech will flip between present and past tense. Victoria, this is a neighbour of the Idaho 4. He lives very close to the Idaho 4 house. He's done a few interviews and people are thinking he's sus. So he says he's awkward normally. And he's flitted between past and present tense. When somebody's just died, right, it's difficult to stick to past tense. And we know they're dead. They're dead, right? So yeah, the correct tense to use is past tense. But when you're just talking and it's a stressful situation, you think you're going to be watching your grammar? No. You're not. When someone's missing, people always pick up on past tense, present tense. Look, people don't, when they're being interviewed, when they're in a stressful situation, they're not watching the grammar. When people are talking in normal, unstressful situations, people don't talk in beautiful grammar a lot of the time. Right? So, I don't know. I don't know.
And so, just my natural person, I'm just a little bit socially awkward, so I might smile at points that I shouldn't. I might make weird hand movements when I shouldn't, stuff like that. And so people have sort of keyed into that and said, oh, he's a weirdo. He must be this killer.
So he's socially awkward, smiles at inappropriate times, he makes strange hand gestures sometimes, and people have keyed into that. He's actually a law student. He's a third-year law student at the University of Idaho, right? So that's another reason why he's been compared to Stephen McDaniel, because I think Stephen McDaniel was also a law student, so people have made a connection. It's called a spurious correlation, but that's just the psychology of it.
Stuff like that. So, plus I think it's the amount of interviews I've done that I have a problem saying no. Because if it's not going to hurt me physically or financially, I might as well help someone.
So he says, yes, he's done interviews. He doesn't say no. He doesn't see any reason to, because if it doesn't hurt him personally or financially, then why not? So was Ted Bundy. You're absolutely right, Olwen. So was Ted Bundy.
I was home. I was asleep. I went to bed around 11:30ish that night, and so I didn't see or hear anything. Correct. Yeah, I didn't know any of them. I had seen them just walking around when I would take my dog out. So I would recognize them, but I didn't actually know their names because I just don't stop and introduce myself to people.
So he knew him by sight, seen him when he takes his dog out, didn't know the names, was asleep, went to bed at 11:30, didn't know anything that went on, didn't hear anything.
As I mentioned in one of the other interviews, I usually carry a weapon on me now, whereas I didn't used to when I moved up to Moscow, just because it was such a safe community.
So there you go. I can't see anything suspect about that guy, honestly. I really can't. I really can't. And it's one of those that puts people off coming forward. But he's willing to give DNA, he's willing to do fingerprinting, whatever they want. So if they suspect him, then they can do that, can't they? All right, so that's, I don't think I'll play that one. That's Kaylee's sister. Kaylee's family, I think, have been the most outspoken. So I've seen interviews with Ethan's parents. Xana's dad has done an interview. I think I've only seen one from Xana's dad. There might be more. Because he's the one who said that Xana had defensive wounds. Maddie's parents haven't spoken out, but they've given Kaylee's parents permission to talk on Maddie's behalf as well. So Kaylee's family have been really outspoken, and done a lot of interviews. I've got one from her dad that I'm going to play. I thought this was interesting. I was going to talk about that this morning as well. Let's just have a quick catch up on the chat, because I've been ignoring you for a minute or two. West still think targeted plus personal witnesses. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that because there's been some stuff come out on that today. Jeremy also seems to know where all the cameras are and aren't in Moscow, as well as motion lights. Impressive. Not making any accusations, just noted. I'm impressed. I know where all my cameras are in my local area as well. I know what direction they face. I've never committed a crime. Well, actually, I have. A long time ago, I used to rob stuff out of Woolworths, like lipsticks and stuff, because they were easy. But that was very, very long time ago, when I was like 14. And I never got caught. But I've never committed a crime. I've no criminal record. When I used to drive, I didn't even get a speeding ticket, not once. Right? And I know where all the cameras are. I know, I do. It's just you pay attention to your local area. How did he find a lost cell phone on someone else's property? What exactly was it found under? I don't know what that means. Are you talking about Jeremy there? I'm not sure. More students have gone on for Thanksgiving. Imagine he's one of the ones left behind, hence why he was hassled for interviews. I think the thing is, if you live very close to a crime scene and you do one interview, then everybody wants an interview. You know, that's just the way it goes. And he hasn't been able to say no. There's another creator from the UK on YouTube going hard after Jeremy. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I also only just got a puppy, so once I start working, I'm sure I'll start memorising who has cameras, etc., and who doesn't. Yeah, and I know like where all the holes in people's fences are, because Cassie likes to have a run around like on private property. So I know where all the holes in people's fences are, and I just know stuff because I look, I walk every day. I walk my local area every day. You just learn these things. I know which farmers are all right and which aren't. Like when you're on the land, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Shauna, check out Joseph Morris. He's got a video comparing boyfriend Jack to white hoodie Jack. Really interesting. Plus the dad is bursting to tell everyone that. What dad? Kaylee's dad. Boyfriend Jack's been ruled out. He's not a suspect at this time. I think that's the wording. And White Hoodie Jack has also been ruled out for the same reasons. So I don't know why people are talking about them, honestly. You know, if the cops come and change their mind and say, you know, we now everybody's back in play, then I will. But when law enforcement are being so good at giving us regular updates and are ruling people out as much as they can, because this is obviously an active investigation and it's early in any investigation, it's a very complex investigation, then they're doing their best in people keeping the public updated and trying to stop rumors. And if we don't listen to them and we're constantly making accusations, even if they're only subtle, I don't see that as a good use of anybody's time, quite honestly. That's just my opinion. My next door neighbour has 10 of them and some face my house and yard. I piss my next door neighbour off because he's got a camera at the front, and the sensor, it hits part of my front fence, so the southerly side of my fence at the front. If I stand in a certain spot, it hits his sensor, and I do it in the middle of the night to piss him off because he had a go at me once. So he told me, I've got cameras. If you're watching from next door, I know you've got cameras, and it sends a bleep to your phone and it wakes you up. So why do you think you're getting woken up? Because I'm walking out in the middle of the night, waking you up by your phone. Oh dear. Lipstick from Woolworths, that's kind of funny. Yeah, I had a few lipsticks from Woolworths. Pick and mix was the best thing. You could get piles and piles and piles of pick and mix. Thank you, Annie, for the $5. I hadn't seen that come through. I had been ignoring chat, but thank you so much for the ha fox. That's right, Kimberly. We don't have any Woolworths. Woolworths was good. So he was walking his dog and he saw a phone on the ground. All right. Michelle does know things. You're right. I found a tenner once. Do you know what I did with it? Kept it. I found a big wad of cash once. Right, funny story. I found a big wad of cash. I think there must have been about 500 quid rolled up, like a big wad of cash. And I saw it drop out of the guy's pocket as he walked up the steps to the train station. I was on my way to work and I was probably about 5 paces behind him. And I saw it drop out of his pocket and I picked it up. And for a split second, I contemplated keeping it. But I didn't. I said, "Oi, you've dropped this wad." And he went, "Oh my God, thank you so much." There you go. So I miss Woolies as well. Their pick and mix was the best. Yeah, all the stolen lipsticks put them out of business. It did. All right. So I thought this was interesting. That the frat house that Ethan lived at or belonged to, you can see that's the house, the Idaho Falls house, how closely you can see it. So I would imagine that the cops are going to be looking very closely at this frat house because you can see into all the windows. You can see that's the front of the house. So you can watch the comings and goings. So I would imagine that is going to be a big focus. That's just my opinion. But I just thought that was interesting. Oh, are you following this case? Are you following this case? This is so sad. Aspen Jetta. Is anybody following this case? I'm following the case. It's so sad that her mother was found deceased and she's just missing. They don't know what's happened to her. 5 years old. And she was in the house with the deceased mother. So sad. It's been going on for a while. Oh, and this is the other guy that people have focused on a lot. Joe V. He was from... You don't know about Aspen Jetta? Oh, I'll do a video about her then. She's been missing for a while now. But her mother's body was like decomposed. So, and it's alleged that it was a gunshot wound, but that's just an allegation. So she was in the house with her dead mother, but then where is she now? Has she been taken by the person that unalived the mother? What happened to her? Just so sad. So sad. Yeah, so this is one of the guys from the truck, the grub truck thing, grub bus, whatever it's called. And a lot of people are focusing on him. And he's done a couple of TikToks basically saying that he didn't even know. So let's listen to this. So this is Joe V on TikTok. Because he was like, I didn't know him. Like I didn't even know all this was going on. I believe him, but again, I don't know why people focused in on this guy. Joe's having now to defend himself from his interviews. It's crazy. Anyway, let's listen to this.
Hey, Joe here. I just wanted to jump on this and make a video real quick. Kind of just squash some stuff that I've been seeing. So, first and foremost, I feel super awkward that I even have to make this video, but I've been like not really keeping track of all of the stuff that's going on with this investigation for those girls that were killed. And to start off, like the very next day when they had announced the murders and when they had shown the photos, as soon as I saw the photos, I messaged the two people that were in that video that I was talking to, my neighbor and then another guy that we had met earlier that night who I thought was really cool. And we invited him to come with us to Grub Bus. And I was like, hey, weren't two of these girls at the Grub Bus with us last night? And they couldn't remember, but they were also very drunk and I was not. So I did have, there's a drink called a Larry Craig. That's like a really popular drink over here. I did have one of those at Corner Club, but I mean, other than that, I was totally sober. When they confirmed that those were the girls, the only reason I knew that it was those girls was because I saw the video that said, oh, they were seen at this thing. Because I actually called the police right away and was like, hey, I think I might have information. I just need to know, like, what was one of the girls wearing? Because I remember one of them had, like, pink, because the one that bumped into me at Corner Club was wearing pink. But nobody called me back from the police, and I was like, okay, they're probably just swamped with information, probably whatever. But then when the video came out and people were like, no, those were the girls, and those two people were like, dude, those were the girls, I was like, okay, I'm gonna physically go to the police station and talk to the police. I told the police everything I saw, which is different than what I think is going out there right now. And I was just waiting for food. I'm just like everybody else in town that waits for food at the Grub Bus. It does take a while. Everybody goes there. And so that was kind of the thing. It was like, no, if you're ending the night, you end it at Grub Bus. But other than that, I don't really have any like crazy information. I don't know why everybody's reaching out to me. I don't know why so many people are trying to spin things around. And so what I've decided to do is that I'm only commenting on things that are like ridiculous. So try and give clarity. But man, people are really turning this into something it's not. Hey, Joey.
There you go. So choose to believe him or not. He's the big guy. Joe's the big guy at the truck. So he's kind of in the middle of the frame for some of it. But thank you, Janet, for the $10. That's very kind. With a #1 fan avocado. Joe's having now to defend himself. I think the more people come out, the more people talk, the more people have to. The more people have to, because people pick up on more and more stuff. Sally, you're right. True crime community want people to speak out. Yeah, then turn on them like a pack of animals. They do. Fly on the Wall says, Joe talks a bit disparaging about the girls, though. What, in that, did he? He said they were drunk, and he wasn't so much drunk. I don't think that's disparaging. I think that's just an observation. Maybe they were drunk. We don't know. Right. He was there. I wasn't there. Hunt for the smallest clue. He has a white hoodie. Must be him. Yeah. I think what it is, I think people just get so wrapped up and are well-meaning for the most part, are well-meaning, but forget that these are real people whose lives are affected by this, right? And they're just doing an interview, or they were just there. They just happened to be there. And then they find out that like everybody's talking about them on social media. Now, if you're not part of, if you're not familiar with the true crime community on Facebook or YouTube or Reddit, you're just going to think this is mental. Right? It's mad that people do this. But it is well-meaning. It is for the most part, but people get so wrapped up in it they forget that these are real people, and you know, and it's just the latest case, and it's the latest soap opera, and everybody tunes in. And again, I'm part of the problem because I make videos about true crime cases. I understand now why some YouTubers, some of the biggest true crime YouTubers never talk about active cases. They only ever do solved cases. Now, I know people like Christina Randall do. She talks about active cases. But there's a number that I've heard say they do not talk about active cases because it's just too crazy. But I can see why now. I can. But having said that, I find the active cases the most interesting. That's the stuff I watch for the most part on YouTube. But was it the tan jacket guy? I think so. I can't remember what all of them were wearing. I honestly haven't looked at that video more than probably 2 or 3 times, maybe. Maybe a few more times than that, but I've not looked at it a lot. Anyway, right, I'm going to play. Oh, that's this one. Have you seen this? This is amazing, this case. Have you seen this? After 51 years, she got kidnapped when she was a little baby. I think she was 22 months old. This woman, Melissa Highsmith, she was abducted by a babysitter. And 51 years later, her family found her on 23andMe. It's astonishing. And she was living in the same town for the whole time. Isn't that just crazy? But she's been reunited with her parents after 51 years. It's like crazy. Now this, I thought this was strange. So we're getting into some of the family interviews now. I thought this was really strange. So this is the Daily Mail, so take it at face value. So he says it was fast and nobody suffered or felt pain. Father of murdered Idaho students, this is Kaylee's dad, says she didn't suffer as he slams frustrating police investigation. So this is again from yesterday. There's a little video, actually, that I'll play. Is it that one? No. Rather than reading the whole thing. But if it's a knife attack, and again, this is just my opinion, if it was a knife attack and it was quick, if what he's saying is true and it was quick, and I would imagine that they've been told the autopsy results. I think the families know the autopsy results because, you know, they've the bodies, they've got the bodies back. So, you know, the autopsies are completed. They'll have all the tissue samples. They'll be awaiting toxicology still, but they will have been told if they wanted to know, I guess. And you know how quick it was if they wanted to know. So a knife attack, if it was quick, it had to be somebody who knew exactly what to do with that knife. Exactly what to do with that knife. Because if it's somebody who's frenzied and is slashing and just stabbing out, like, you know, sometimes when you hear about murders by knife, they like have like 90 stab wounds or something, you know, it's overkill. really bad overkill because it's so frenzied. But if what he's saying is true and it was quick, at least for Kaylee, because obviously Kaylee's family will only have been told about Kaylee's autopsy. So he won't have the results of Xana's or Ethan's or Maddie's autopsy unless their parents chose to share it with him. So he's only talking about Kaylee, that Kaylee's death was quick. But it has to be somebody who knows. It's calculated that, in my opinion. But it would explain why there wasn't much noise, why there wasn't a massive amount of screaming that could have been heard from the outside. I have as well, Sally. That is just an impression, but I think that Kaylee and Maddie were asleep, and it probably was quick for them. Whereas Xana's dad said that she's got defensive wounds. Now, they might have been asleep, but then were woken up. And then there was a fight back. But anyway, I'm going to listen to this interview. So this is with the Daily Mail. I'll put all the links in the description box afterwards. Because when I went live, I wasn't sure which ones I was going to play. So I'll put them all in afterwards. All right, so let's play this.
To the killings of those 4 University of Idaho students, police now sifting through hundreds of tips, thousands of pieces of evidence. Our Kana Whitworth has been on this story for us. Spoke with the father now of one of the victims. Kana, good morning.
Hey, TJ, good morning. Kaylee Gonzalez's father told me they moved to this region of Idaho because it was safe. There had not been a homicide in Moscow in 7 years. And now this morning, he tells me the only thing worse than losing his daughter, her best friend, and 2 others is not knowing why or who is responsible. This morning, students on edge at the University of Idaho as the search for the killer in that brutal quadruple homicide enters its 3rd week.
It is disconcerting that there is somebody out there who's done such a horrible thing and they haven't been caught.
The school posting this notice on social media Monday, writing increased security will be on site for the remainder of the semester. Steve Gonzalez, the father of one
just a point before we get into what he says. The fact that a lot of those students have gone home, not just for Thanksgiving, but are now not coming back. They're going to do the rest of the semester online. If the killer was a student, well, they've skipped town. You can guarantee they've skipped town. And you don't know, we don't know if that person confides in the parents and the parent gets them a lawyer and they just say nothing, keep, it could be why they're not getting any headway with it. Because I really do think that the killer was very local. I really do. But if there was a student, I bet you any money they've skipped town and gone home. So, tracking them down. Anyway, let's listen to Steve, Kaylee's dad.
Victim's 21-year-old Kaylee now shedding new light on what happened that night in his first sit-down interview.
It was fast, and nobody suffered and nobody felt like that kind of pain.
So he says it was fast, nobody suffered, nobody felt that kind of pain. Now, when he says nobody, it could be that all parents, Ethan, Xana's, and Maddie's have shared that it was quick for them as well. But given that Xana's dad has said that she's got defensive wounds, I'm wondering whether he's actually only talking perhaps about Kaylee and Maddie. Because we know Kaylee and Maddie grew up together. They were very close. The families were very close. I'd turn my kid in as well. I would, Tracker. I'd turn my kid in as well. I had this conversation with loads of people during the Brian Laundrie saga. I'd have turned Brian in. I would have done. Without a doubt, I would have done. But most probably won't. I say most, many might not. So I don't know whether he can speak for them all, but I think if we think about CHORLEY, and if her death was quick, then it's somebody who knows how to use a knife. So you stab them in the lungs, stab them in the chest, get through to the lungs. Now, if they're on the back or on the side, you've got to go through a lot to get to the lungs, because the lungs are at your back, like towards your back, like behind your ribs, or in the throat. And if you're stabbed in the lungs or in the throat, you can't scream, and you're literally going to drown in your own blood, and you can't scream. So, but it would be quick. It would be quick.
2 other roommates survived on the ground floor, waking up several hours later, calling friends over when their roommates were unresponsive. Do you know the reason why the initial concern was that a roommate was passed out?
I know the girls reached out via texting and calling, so I can only assume that by the phones being ignored, knowing how my daughter is not going to ignore calls and texting.
Officials maintain the murders happened between 3 and 4 a.m.
So, so the unconscious person. This has been a big debate, and I'm unsure about what really to believe about that. Although, when I play a clip in a minute after I think it's the one after this, or maybe next but one. They do address that. What the guy, what's his name, Aaron Snail from the Idaho State Police has addressed it. But what Steve is saying here is that the downstairs roommates, the survivors, if they were texting and calling and everything was like really quiet, it's like late morning, everything's quiet. They text them, they can't get they can't get an answer. They ring them, they can't get an answer. Maybe knock on the doors. Nobody comes to the door. You're going to assume things, aren't you? But I don't know. I get the impression that one of them was behind the door and they couldn't open the door, and that's why they started panicking. Yeah, I've heard that as well. Lost little ones. Heard a girl passed out calling 911 outside the house. I heard that as well. It did the rounds about, I want to say about 3 days ago now. It did the rounds on Facebook, Reddit. It did the rounds. I've got the screenshot actually, I think. Which one would it be? Yeah, here we go. I got this from Reddit. It's blurry because it's zoomed in, because I just screenshotted it from Reddit. I saw this comment on Facebook and wanted to share it here because it clarifies everything and to stop people speculating about the survivors. Supposedly, a few days after the murder, someone was asking questions on the victim's past Instagram post about the survivors. 2 of the people who were at the house with the roommates when the call was made quickly came to their defense and said, this is supposedly what they said. Keep in mind, this is all alleged. So please do keep in mind, this is all alleged. This is just what is being shared. Okay. 2 people who claimed to be at the house with the roommates when the bodies were discovered quickly came to the surviving roommate's defense and wrote that the roommates woke up, went upstairs to the kitchen and noticed the sliding glass door was open, and it was during the time they discovered Ethan. They didn't say where he was, found on the floor, but that it was so horrific that both girls went into shock and ran out of the house. One of the roommates fainted and the other was beyond hysterical and not making any sense. Their frantic actions while coming out of the house caught the attention of people walking past. The people responding on the victim's IG claimed to be two of those people. So all allegations started on Instagram, made its way to Facebook, did the rounds on Reddit, and then I presume it's found its way to YouTube. But I got this, I want to say 3 days ago. I found this on Reddit. So it had already done the rounds. By the time I got it, it had already done the rounds on Instagram, IG. That's where it started. Then it went to Facebook. Then it went to Reddit. So yeah, it's all over by now. I don't know. It's plausible. It's plausible. I thought it was one of the more plausible reasons why there was a call for an unconscious person. But we don't know. Just alleged, and that the person that shared this is being very clear that it's just an allegation, but we don't know. Okay, so carry on with this thing here. This is Good Morning America. They will copyright claim, but whatever.
And that the first 911 call was made around noon. Just hours later, Steve was informed of his daughter's death, not by police, but by family members on campus.
Let's call Maddie. And then you realize Maddie's gone too.
Madison Mogan was Kaylee's lifelong.
Let's just be clear. Let's just be clear to people here in the chat. This is an allegation. This is not saying that this happened. This is an allegation that somebody said on Instagram. That's it. That's it. Not been confirmed by law enforcement. So this is the thing about the game of telephone. One person on Instagram said one thing. Right, this is an allegation. This is what they heard, right? And it could be true. It's what they heard. So everybody then shares it. And every time everybody shares it, they forget to say this is just an allegation and start to weave it into a factual narrative. And it's not. It's not a factual narrative. Could it have happened? Yes. But it's not confirmed. So, yes, I have seen that down south chick. I have seen someone was arrested for the knife that was threatened 2 months ago. I have seen that, yes. We don't know that there's any connection with this at all. The police have, I'll show you in a minute, the police have come out and said that there's 2 things that have been going around are not connected. I did have a couple of other things I wanted to respond to. What do I think? This is from Lisa. What do I think of the YouTubers showing up in Idaho? What do I think? I question why are they going there? What are they going there for? If they're going there for their own, I don't know, to walk around, to get a feel for the place, do a few interviews, I don't see the harm in it. However, interfering with an active investigation could be a problem. So I don't really have an opinion unless I see any really bad behavior, and then I may have an opinion. But if they're just going to take footage like the reporters are doing, then I don't have a problem with that. Honestly, I don't have a problem with it, as long as it's respectful. All right, I'm going to get to the end of this now. Oh yeah, I'll just show you these 2 things that have been that they've said are not connected. So I'd never even heard of this one. There has been media questions regarding a February 2022 death on Baker Street. Cassie, honestly. The Latah County Coroner's Office has confirmed the death was due to an overdose. The case is not related to the ongoing murder investigation. I hadn't even heard of that one. I don't know whether you had. Kyle, is that you?
No.
I'm just checking it's not Amazon coming in like a clown. You never know. You remember me telling you about that Amazon person who's walked in? Yeah, till he saw him off. And then there's been online reports of a red Mustang. Now, I did hear about this one. A red Mustang on South Deacon Street being processed as part of the murder investigation. This information is not accurate and the vehicle is not connected to this incident. So they're very good. They are being very good, I've got to say. I'm very impressed by the way that they're attending to these things that are being said. I should check, actually. I'll check before we sign off to see if there's any further updates. Sally, I always forget to lock my doors. I just think, I've got dogs, I've got a sword. What are they going to do? My knife's bigger than your knife. Okay, so let's get to the end of this interview now. And it's sharp. It's very sharp. Don't cut yourself. All right. Let's get to the end of this interview.
Best friend. The pair seen together in their final hours of life, laughing and ordering late night food before getting a ride home together in what Steve described as a sorority designated driver service.
You can't imagine sending your girl to college and then they come back in an urn.
And now, the families of the victims growing frustrated by the lack of answers.
I haven't earned the ability to grieve the way that I want to grieve. I want to be able to have justice first.
Now, Steve says that he does plan to speak at the candlelight vigil.
He reminds me so much of Candice Cooley, you know, from the Dylan Rounds case. Like, he's putting everything to one side and he is going to, you know, he's going to do what needs to be done. I think that's all I need to share from that. I think there might be a little bit more, but I'm going to move us on, else we're going to be here all night. So that's the Daily Mail, and this news clip comes from Good Morning America. So let's move us on to, oh, that's me. So that's Richard Allen. The cars were towed away yesterday. Did anybody see this? So they've taken all the cars away that were outside, even the ones from the surviving roommates, to process them. So that's interesting. Why they took the cars away. So Brian Entin is there from News Nation. Money is made by all YouTubers, Facebook, TikTok. It's not. It's not. I don't know how you make money on Facebook. I don't think it's even possible to make money on Facebook. And you're only going to make money on TikTok if you're, I guess if you're doing lives on Facebook and you share your Cash App and your Venmo and that stuff. Same with TikTok. There might be a way to make money on TikTok. I just don't use it. I have an account, I don't use it. And YouTube, you only start to make money if you choose to monetize your channel if you've got 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch time hours. So not everybody makes money on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, so they've got the cars. All right, so now this is Aaron Snail from the Idaho State Police. So he's done a couple of interviews actually, and he's been in the media. I talked about him. I think it would have been the last video that I did on this case a couple of days ago. I shared something that he'd been talking about. Patty, you haven't seen this one from Aaron Snail. I'm going like from, I think this is today now. I think this was today, 22 hours ago. So no, not quite today. So let's listen to this. So this is on Court TV. This is just a clip. Obviously Court TV. I like Court TV. They've been doing some really good coverage on this case. They do good coverage anyway about any case, but I really do like Court TV. They are being very good in my opinion. All right, so let's listen to this. It's only a short clip, very short clip.
911 call came in for an unresponsive female, an unresponsive person. And so when officers arrived, they addressed that issue, and then as well, 2 additional people were found. Two individuals were found on the 2nd floor, and 2 individuals were found on the 3rd floor.
So the call came in for an unresponsive, I can't even speak, unresponsive female. So it links back to this. So that's Aaron Snell from the Idaho State Police. He's the media person, the public relations person for the Idaho State Police. And as I said, he's done a few interviews now, and he's just telling us that little bit more than what we're hearing. I don't know whether, I think it probably was a slip because he changed it. Let's listen to it again, because it's just a really tiny clip that Court TV shared there out of a much larger interview. So new details confirmed to Court TV about the 911 call placed on November 13th. It was for an unresponsive female on the 2nd floor. So it wasn't, going back to this, it wasn't for an unresponsive female outside. It wasn't. So whether one of the roommates did go outside and faint and then attracted attention of other people, that could be true. But the original 911 call was for an unresponsive female on the 2nd floor. So that's going to be Xana, isn't it? Deborah, thank you. Thanking me, thanking you. Thanks for $9.99. That's very kind of you. So the 911 call was made because there was an unresponsive female on the 2nd floor. Let's listen to it again, and then we'll consider it in relation to this, because I don't think this is true. Could be. Aspects of it could be, but I don't think this is the actual story. So all 16 seconds of it again. Listen carefully.
911 call came in for an unresponsive female, an unresponsive person. And so when officers arrived, they addressed that issue, and then as well, 2 additional people were found. Two individuals were found on the 2nd floor, and 2 individuals were found on the 3rd floor.
Okay, so an unresponsive female. He actually didn't say an unresponsive female on the 2nd floor. He said an unresponsive female, and then they found two additional others. Well, actually 3 additional others, wasn't there? But I think that if I think what it means is that there was an unresponsive female, so that's got to be Xana. That's got to be Xana, because her bedroom was on the 2nd floor, and Ethan wasn't a female. So they discovered Ethan and Xana, and then they went upstairs and found Maddie and Kaylee. No, Kelly, it isn't. No, it isn't. No. The 2nd floor isn't the ground level. Let's be clear here. No. This is the house, side on. So the 1st floor is the ground level where the parking is. So the parking's here. So this is the front aspect. This is the rear aspect. So this is the parking level. The cars are all parked out the front there. The 2nd floor is this floor. So you access this 2nd floor, like coming from the outside, you access the 2nd floor from the back. Right, so the 2 survivors were sleeping on this ground floor here, parking level, 1st floor. Xana and Ethan were on this floor. And then the 3rd floor is where Maddie and Kaylee were. So there's 2 bedrooms on each floor. So the 2 surviving roommates had a bedroom each here. Xana has a bedroom here. Xana's bedroom's right here. And then there was a spare bedroom because they only had 5 roommates and there was 6 bedrooms. And then Maddie and Kaylee's bedrooms were on the 3rd floor. So we've even got a plan of it. This is the plan of the 2nd floor. So that's Xana bedroom there. And that corresponds with where the blood was on the outside of the house. And then this is because the reason why there's plans is because the reason why there's plans is because this is the original house, this bit here, and then this has all been added on. So the 2nd floor was redesigned, and then the 3rd floor was added with a brand new roof. So you can see it all on these plans here. Okay. So back to this call. I'm losing my voice. I had COVID like, what, 3 weeks ago now, and I still lose my voice when I talk, like for any length of time. Okay, so let's just listen to it again one more time.
911 call came in for an unresponsive female, an unresponsive person. And so when officers arrived, they addressed that issue, and then as well, 2 additional people were found. Two individuals were found on the 2nd floor, and 2 individuals were found on the 3rd floor.
Okay, so the call, the 911 call, was made because of an unresponsive female on the 2nd floor. That's got to be Xana. Got to be Xana. Yeah, there is a random step ladder. There is a random step ladder, yeah. But I've got a ladder. Right, so what? I guess somebody could have used it to get in. I think they came in through the sliding doors on the 2nd floor. That's just my opinion. Okay, so let's read this again in light of what Aaron Snail tells us. Let's read this again. So I saw this comment on Facebook. So this person's writing here. I screenshotted this from this person's Reddit. All right. So it's already done the rounds. By the time I got this, by the time this person, Mysterious Book 3602, by the time they got it, excuse me, it had done the rounds on Instagram, done the rounds on Facebook, made its way to Reddit. Right. All good speculations make their way to Reddit. So I saw this comment on Facebook, wanted to share it here because it clarifies everything and to stop people from speculating about the survivors. Supposedly, a few days after the murders, someone who was asking a question on the victim's past Instagram about the survivors, 2 of the people who were at the house with the roommates when the call was made quickly came to their defense. So the cement block under the window, it's a seat. I'm going to tell you it's a seat. The reason why I think they were using that as a seat is because you wouldn't need a step to get into that window. You wouldn't need a step. You just get in the window because it's really low. They could have done. They could have done. I think they walked in through the door though. Personally, it could have been used as a step up. I don't know if it was a really short person. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, but I think it was being used as a seat. And if somebody used it as a step up to get in the window, then it was fortuitous that that it was there. That's just my opinion. Okay, so 2 people who were at the house. So what happens? Steve Gonsalves tells us, that's Kaylee's dad, tells us, wasn't there a little grill by the block? There was a little grill by the block, yeah. I think it's just something that has fallen off. Anyway, So, because the reason I don't think someone got in by breaking the grill off and getting through the window is because the cops said there's no sign of a break-in. The cops told us that there's no sign of a break-in. So I don't think somebody got in through the window by breaking a grill off, because then that would have been breaking in. But again, my opinion, could have happened. I just don't think it did. All right, so Steve Gonzalez, Kaylee's dad, tells us that the survivors tried calling and texting, didn't get any response. So that's what he tells us. So they don't get any response. They get concerned. They call their friends. Right? Probably weren't sure. Probably didn't want to overreact. So got their friends round and had a conversation. Like, can you come round? I think there's something might be wrong. Friends come round, right? So these are the friends that are commenting. So assuming that what the friends say is true, this really could have happened. However, it's not the whole story. Because what Aaron Snail tells us is that when the 911 call was made, it was made about an unresponsive female on the second floor. So that had to be Xana. So I think, this is just my personal opinion, so take it for what it is. I think one of them, either Ethan or Xana, was behind the door. And they tried to open the door and they couldn't open the door. And they probably thought Xana's in there. It's Xana's room. So they probably thought Xana's in there. She's collapsed. And that really tallies in with the blood. This. And I know a lot of people don't think this is blood, but this is blood. I'm going to say I'm 99.99999% sure that that's blood. Right. Just by the color, I've really zoomed in on the color. That's red. That is fresh blood. And I'm going to even say that's blood out of an artery. I'm going to say. It's just the pattern of it, the color of it. I'm going to say that's blood. And that is Xana's bedroom right there. Because this is the, right, I zoomed in. Look, right, I zoomed in. Why are you not bringing it to front? Bring to front. Look at that. Look at that. Zoom it right in. Look at that. Tell me that's not blood. It's haunting. I know it's haunting. Well, no, it's got to be from either arteries or veins because that's where your blood is. But it's artery blood, that. Because your artery blood is the oxygenated blood. Right, the arteries, they go from the heart, taking the oxygenated blood to the organs, and then the deoxygenated blood comes back through the veins, and the pressure's lower through the veins. So when you pop an artery, right, you bleed out very fast. You bleed out very fast, and it's very red. So if you cut yourself, like on your wrist or anywhere, and you hit an artery, it's going to pump and the blood is bright red. And you need to stop that immediately. You need to stop that immediately because you're going to bleed out. No, he didn't say 2 more people were on the... that would have meant 6 people were dead, wouldn't it? Strawberry wine. He said the call came in for an unresponsive female. And so they found 2 people on the second floor and 2 people on the third floor. Thanks, Trixie Star, for the trigger warning. I always forget these kind of things because I talk about crime all day, you know, so it's not that triggering to me. But I guess we talk about very bad things, don't we? But that's artery blood, right? You're going to bleed out. You're going to bleed out fast. So it fits with what Steve Gonzalez said, honestly. But anyway, that's that. And that's Anna's bedroom. Thank you, who was that? Wood Chipper, thank you for the $20. Thank you. That's very kind of you. So the back door, sliding doors here. Then there's that wall, and then this is the wall that juts out. So that wall there, not a very good picture that. I've got a back side of the house. Of course I don't. Of course I don't. Anyway, you're going to have to trust me. This wall here. Right, so you've got that wall with the sliding door, then you've got that wall, and then this wall juts out. And that's Anna's bedroom. So if you look on the plan's easier. If you look on the plan, it's that wall there. So that's where somebody was. And then if there was somebody behind the door, they're not being able to open the door. It's just speculation, but just based on this, and then based on this. So the 911 call came in for an unresponsive female, and it could well be that once they were talking to 911, during that time they discovered Ethan. Maybe they were able to get the door open and Ethan was behind the door. Maybe that is true. But I wouldn't run with it, is what I'm saying. But it's a good it's a good allegation. It could be true. But it's not the reason why the 911 call was made. It's not the reason why it said it's an unconscious female. That's not true. Because the 911 call had already been made by the time one of the roommates fainted outside. If that's true. When you faint, it's not for long. She would have come round by the time they were on the phone. I faint a lot. I knocked myself properly out once. Proper concussion. I had concussion for weeks. But yeah, you come round pretty quickly. You do. You come round pretty quickly. Duty Ron, guys. Ed, the grade 1 detective, CSI, did the analysis of the blood drip. I think he is amazing. And yes, the oxygenation is key, Michelle. And plus it's cold. So the weather. I think I'm missing. Did they do another show last night? I watched the one the night before and they talked about blood. I've not seen YouTube today. So I think I'm missing one. But yeah, it's bright red. It's oxygenated blood. Positive. 99.99999%. Because there could be another fluid that drips like blood, I guess, somewhere in the world. Anyway, so I think this could be partly true, but it's not the reason why the 911 call was made. Aaron Snail tells us the reason. Okay. So, Brian Entin talked to the prosecutor. So I think this is the last thing I'm going to show you. Oh, that's dead and recent. Let's play Brian Entin. Couple of clips here from News Nation. News Nation now, they do copyright claims, so they're going to have to fight Good Morning America for copyright claim rights or whatever it is. Anyway, why is my screen gone weird? My screen's like zoomed in mega much. I don't know how it's managed to do that. There we go. Oh, I got another super chat. Thank you so much, Mandy, for the 35 ZAR. Is that I don't know. Is that South African? I want to say. Maybe not. Really enjoy your lives, Michelle. Your true personality comes through. I always have a good giggle. Yeah, I laugh at right, really dark things. Angie, yeah, I think so. I think so as well. And that would be very quick. Jugular. Carotid would be quicker. Carotid artery takes blood up to your brain. You're gone. Seconds. You're gone in seconds. But we're getting too dark now. Where did the survivors go? Where's the cars? The cars have been towed. The cars were outside. They were all towed away yesterday. There was 5 cars parked outside. So there was Kaylee's, Maddie's and Xana's, and then the other 2 roommates' cars were there. They've obviously been told to leave them. They're processing them all for DNA. I don't know why, but that's what they're doing. So I don't know where they are. I guess they might have just gone home. Like, they're just going to need so much counselling, therapy. They really are. Anyway, right, we're going to play a couple of short clips from News Nation. This is Brian Entin. So we've got one where he talks to Aaron Snail, and then we've got one where he talks to this dude here with the beard, whose name escapes me, but they might tell it. So JB Bruno from WFLA fame. The top questions for many in the Idaho murders is whether investigators are narrowing towards a person of interest. Per Brian Entin's interview with Moscow's prosecuting attorney, they are not, at least for now. There's so much unknown in this case. So let's play this clip. 2.5 minutes. All right, let's play it.
Are there persons of interest and people that the investigators are looking at?
I think it's fair to say that there have been people of interest to the investigators, and everyone that they've identified so far, they've been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best word, but they've been able to eliminate them as being an actual suspect. And we do not have a name of a person or persons who are actual suspects.
So that's interesting. Buglove, do you mod for JB? Oh wow! Actually, I think I heard JB say on one stream, thanks to the mods, and I'm sure he said Buglove because I pricked my ears up. I did. I pricked my ears up, and I pricked my ears up for a reason, obviously, because you're there, and you're also in JB's. Oh, that's cool. So they've had people that they were interested in, but everyone that they've been interested in, they've been able to not exonerate, but clear for the time being. So I'm guessing they'd have looked very closely at Jack, Kaylee's ex. Maybe that's why it took them longer to say he was cleared, in inverted commas, than Hoodie Guy and the roommates. I think they probably looked at him very closely. I think they probably looked at Maddie's boyfriend very closely. So, but yeah, nobody as of yet.
That's what they're focusing on still.
So there's not someone behind the scenes that you secretly know about that you're just waiting on one more piece of evidence.
As if they're going to tell Brian Entin. I love Brian Entin. He's so good. So there's not someone secretly behind the scenes. Oh, that's good.
One more piece of DNA and then boom, this will be settled.
I can tell you that I'm not aware of any single person with a name that we're focusing on, the investigators are focusing on.
Okay, so it could be a while.
It could be, or it could break open any time.
I honestly, who said that? I've lost it now. There was a good comment though. Oh, there we go. Could they be saying no suspect to let the suspect get comfy? They could be, but I don't know. I think, I don't know. I kind of think that they don't have anybody that they're really honing in on it. I kind of believe him for the time being. This Bill Thompson was involved in the O.J. Simpson case. No, I don't know, E. Jones. I was a kid when O.J. Simpson was a thing. I wasn't a little kid. I wasn't a tiny kid, but I was very young. I remember the trial, but I didn't honestly follow. I didn't follow true crime then. I was too young. Not a good sign they don't have a suspect. Honestly, I thought when this case broke, I thought they're going to get him very quickly, because in these cases where it's like a mass murder, the suspect either suicides themselves or it's so obvious who did it that they get them straight away. That's why I didn't cover it for the first few days, because I thought they know who's done it. But it got interesting for me when it became clear that they didn't know. And I don't think they do. I think that they've got so much to process from that house. They've got such a mix of DNA that's all going to have to be literally unraveled. They're going to have to wait for loads of results to come back. The only way that they can be sure that it's the suspect's DNA that they're actually testing is if it's on the victims, if it's on all 4 victims. They don't have the murder weapon, which is another big thing. Like they're going to have to test loads of DNA to work out which one might be the suspects. Because look, there's going to be lots of DNA in that house because they had friends round. There was people in on the day that the 911 call was made. It was a party house. They had friends round. So there's no point fingerprinting the entire house and getting touch DNA from the house, because that could be anybody's DNA. So it has to be very specific areas where they're looking at for DNA. So it's a big job. And then if that DNA, like they're confident is the suspects, if that doesn't come up in CODIS in the police system, like they're not a felon already, they're not in the system, or they've not had the DNA taken by the cops for any other reason, then they're at square one, and then they'll be relying on genetic forensic genealogy. Under Xana's nails, yeah, under the victim's nails. I talked about that in a previous stream. When they remove bodies, they always bag the hands, because if somebody's fought, even if it's a half-assed kind of fight, if they've lashed out and they've actually just caught the offender's skin, then there is going to be DNA under the nails, even if they don't have any massive scratches. Also, hair is another big one as well, that people tend to, like, if they're fighting, they tend to pull hair, like grab hair. Obviously that doesn't work if the offender's bald or has got mega short hair, but hair as well is another big one. All right, let's play this through now.
That is obviously not what people in this community and what the victims' families want to hear right now. There has been this hope that behind the scenes, police were making a lot of progress and that perhaps they had seen a suspect on surveillance video, something that just wasn't released to the public. I'm told that is not the case. The prosecutor telling me they have no video of the suspect that he knows of. Okay.
And that is huge. That is huge. That they've no video of the suspect. But that does not surprise me. But if its DNA is not CODIS, then they still have nothing. Yeah, Jeffrey, that's true. that if it's not in their system, then they still don't have an ID. So forensic genealogy is the only other way to do it. And I think that could be very true, LibCon. Picturing the killer wearing a bunch of bulky stuff to cover up a lot of themselves. I think so as well. That if this was a spur of the moment frenzy, somebody just loses their shit, to put it bluntly, and attacks people, then they're not conscious of what they're wearing, right? Becky, will I be streaming the vigil today at 4 p.m. if they are streaming it? No, I don't want to stream a vigil if... No, I think I feel a bit funny about streaming vigils, honestly. So no, I won't be. And also 4 p.m. for me is going to be my bedtime. So 4 p.m. Mountain Time. No, they're in Pacific, aren't they? I've even forgotten. Yeah, they're in Pacific. So that's going to be 12 o'clock midnight. Foggy Mom, thank you so much for the $49.99. That is very, very, very kind of you. It's very generous. Forensic genealogy, Mandy. So how does it work? Well, how long does it take? Yeah, I definitely wouldn't stream it if I didn't have permission. But no, I'm not going to be. Good question, Mandy. How long does it take? It could take minutes, or it could take years. Simply because how it works is, right? So let's say you've got an ancestry profile like I've got. Right, so I'm on Ancestry, DNA, people. Right, so this is my DNA here on Ancestry. All right, so this is my DNA story. So every time somebody does one of these tests and does it for fun, does it to find out where their ancestors lived, the DNA goes into a system. Now, I don't think 23andMe works off the same system, but most of these sites, the DNA goes into a system called GEDCOM. And what I'm just looking to see if I've doxed myself. No, I've not. Because everybody knows that's my real name anyway. Thought I had Irish in me. Yeah, I'm a little bit Irish. We'll talk about this in a minute if you want. I've done. No, don't get me off course. I'll talk about this in a minute. Just for a second. I'll just veer off for a second in a minute. But okay, so millions of people have done this now, right? Millions of people have their DNA in these sites for their own personal use, their own personal interest. So what happens is they get this piece of DNA from a suspect and it's not in CODIS. So this is somebody who has never been in trouble with the cops before, not seriously anyway. And the cops will upload that DNA to GEDCOM, the system that your DNA goes into, right? And then all they do is wait. So obviously it's going to take a little while for that DNA to be processed through GEDCOM. And then it sits on a system, just like my DNA sits on a system, like yours does if you've done this. And you get DNA matches, right? And I'm not going to show you my DNA matches because that's doxing. That's doxing. Because I got people who live very close to me who will come up, who are like second cousins. I'm not going to do that to them. So they come up, if they're already in the system, that's going to come up as soon as it goes through, as soon as it's uploaded. So it could take minutes for a match, or it could take years, because it has to be somebody who's already got, so that the suspect's DNA matches with somebody who is in the system. It could be them. They could have done a DNA test on Ancestry or 23andMe or MyHeritage or one of the other sites. I don't think 23andMe goes through GEDCOM. I might be wrong, but anyway. It could be them and they get 100% match. Well, then they've nailed them. Right. How much Neanderthal am I? I'd have to log on to 23andMe for that. I can't remember. I think mine's about 2%. But it could be that they've got a cousin who did a DNA test once, or a second cousin that did a DNA test once. And then it's a matter of just tracing the family tree down. So it can be minutes or it could be years. Exactly, Patty, that's it. Law enforcement can submit DNA to one of these sites. It's done all the time by law enforcement. It is. They got the Golden State Killer. They're solving a lot of old cases now through genetic genealogy. It is. Exactly, E. Jones. It is how they caught the Golden State Killer. They're trying to get John Benet Ramsey solved through this. Anyway, just quickly. This is mine. This is via Ancestry. Bear in mind, I've done 4 different tests. I've done Ancestry. I've done 23andMe. I've done Living DNA. And I've done MyHeritage. And they come back with different results. Like, yeah, the mainly it's Italy and Britain, right? Because my mother's British and my father was Italian. So British and Italian always comes up, but it's how it's interpreted. So I've got 48% Southern Italy, which is right because my father was from Agrigento. That's right. 42% from England, Northwest Europe, mainly Northwest. So, yep, that's where all my family comes from. Cheshire, Merseyside, Wigan, Bolton, Warrington, all of that, Lancashire, all of that. 4% Scotland, 4% Ireland, and 2% Norway. So a little bit Viking, a little bit Northman I am. There you go. But 23andMe gives me North Africa. One of them gave me Iran. One of them gave me Greece, but that's all about the Italy. All about, like, it's actually Sicily that I'm from. So Sicily was invaded by all sorts of people. Do you have to send blood or saliva? Saliva. Some of them you have to spit into a tube, and some of them you have to swab your cheek. So some of them, they literally take cells from your saliva, and then some of them take cells from a swab that you've rubbed on your cheek. So there's no blood involved. Yeah, James, Norway, wild card in there. Well, it's the Vikings because they invaded England. So yeah, because my great grandma was from this side here. So Lincolnshire, which is about here, and that was big part of where the Vikings invaded. So people who originate from there have got Viking blood. They've all got Viking blood. Anyway, right, less of that. Right. So, why did I do that? I've taken Twitter off. That was annoying. All right. We're nearly at the end now, guys. Just a couple more things I want to show you. All right, so we've done that one. Let's do this one. So this one is Prosecuting attorney Bill Thompson says, oh, actually, I didn't finish this one.
I think it's fair to say
Aaron Snell's on here as well. Let's listen to what Aaron Snell says. All right, let's go here. Married into 100% Viking fan. Oh, bro. I love the Vikings. They're great. I would have been a Viking in the olden days. I would have been raiding everyone. I'd have been slashing and burning villages and God knows what. I'd have been evil. All right, so okay, let's finish this. Aaron Schnell's on at the end here.
They have no video of the suspect.
Oh, that was the thing I wanted to say as well. Sorry, guys, I'm all over the place. They've no video, which makes sense because Chris McDonough did a walk round. Did anybody see it? Chris McDonough did a walk round and he was like, I don't see any cameras. I do raiding lipstick, Sally. Good one. He said, I don't see any cameras. And like, there's loads of them now got Ring doorbells and cameras, but they felt that it was such a safe neighborhood that people just didn't have security cameras. So what can you do? I mean, so yeah, they don't have them on camera. Half Viking, half Italian. Oh, I bet you're fierce. Fearsome. Right, let's play this through to the end now.
Also, coming up tomorrow, there's going to be this vigil for the victims here at the University of Idaho. There are safety concerns. There are students here who are worried for obvious reasons. I asked police about that today.
With the vigil Wednesday night, a lot of people are planning to go. Some people are scared, though. I mean, in other big cases, you know, the murderer will go to a vigil.
Yeah.
Is that a concern?
So there's been a lot of speculation about that. We understand that there is community concern and fear. What I can say is that our detectives are on top of their game. We recognize there's potential contingencies for kind of everything, and so we're working on that.
So a lot of this...
There will be, I can promise you, there will be detectives all over that vigil. They'll be watching people's behavior. They'll be all over it. Oh, Serene, The Last Kingdom on Netflix is excellent. Absolutely beautiful series. I loved it. I loved it. I totally loved it. I was so sad when it ended. I was dreaming about it. I was in the battles. I was everywhere all over that series, honestly. I'm going to watch it again. Nothing compares to it. It was so good. I loved it.
Students we've spoken to said they came back to town because they want to attend that vigil, but they'll be going back home to their hometowns. They don't feel safe here. They'll continue their classes online. A couple of new nuggets I got from law enforcement today. They say there's no evidence at this point that drugs were involved at all in the killings. And you've heard them say that this was a targeted murder. I am told by the prosecutor that they don't have any evidence of which victim was specifically targeted. They just feel the house in general was targeted. Nicole?
I thought that was such an important piece of information. Such an important piece of information. Because no, they don't believe drugs was involved. So people who are spreading Xana's mother's charges all over the internet saying it could be connected. No, it's not. They're not thinking that. So, yes, these are real charges. But she's a grieving mother. Leave her alone. Leave her alone, or else I'm going to have to get sweary. Because she's a grieving mother. Yes, she got arrested for drugs or whatever. But they don't think drugs was involved. And I wish people would think before they post. And I get it. I do get it that people make these links, and I do get it. But listen to what they're saying. And you can eliminate so many things, so many rumors, if you just listen to what they're saying. There's so much. These cops are being so good at getting information out. They really are. And you really don't have to dig very deep to find it either. Don't bring any of the families into it. right? Whether they've chosen to speak out or whether they've got criminal records or whether they're staying completely silent, doesn't matter. Leave them alone, right? Leave them alone. And the other thing I've forgotten, let me just listen back to that. I've forgotten.
Was a targeted murder.
Oh, yeah.
I am told by the prosecutor that they don't have any evidence of which victim was specifically targeted. They just feel the house in general was targeted.
That's exactly what I've been saying. Exactly what I've been saying. That it's the house. I actually did a video, what was it, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and I said, perfect house, question mark. It's the perfect house, right? To get into, to get away from. 5 girls living in a house. So the early speculations about which victim was targeted, I don't think is going to bear out to be true. I think it's the house that was targeted. And I'm glad that that's coming out. So here we've got a little bit more here from prosecuting attorney Bill Thompson. Says targeted was perhaps not the best word to use in relation to the Idaho murders. He said the residence was targeted, but they don't have evidence of a specific individual. So this is from the prosecutor. Well, actually, Patty, to take a risk with 6 people in the house is bold. They didn't know 6 people were going to be there. They thought that because it's 5 women, 5 girls living in that house. Ethan was Anna's boyfriend. He lived at the frat house close by. He was just staying over with Anna, so they wouldn't have expected him to be there. All right, let's listen to this. This is really interesting. Only a minute long, but let's listen to it.
One thing that we've been told is that this was targeted. That's one word that's come up, targeted. Can you shed any more light on that? Because even with the students and some of the victims' families, they've almost been frustrated by that, not really knowing what that means.
It seems like the word targeted has had different understandings for different people who are listening, and perhaps isn't the best word to use. The bottom line is whoever's responsible for this is still at large. That can't be changed. My understanding is the investigators believe that whoever's responsible was specifically looking at this particular residence, but that's all that they can offer at this point.
Can they say whether they were looking at whether the person responsible was looking at a particular individual?
I don't think they can say that at this point. They are still, that's part of the investigation, is trying to determine who might have been the target.
One thing that we've been told is that
okay, so I think that's pretty clear, honestly, that it's not a specific person. So there's a good, it's a rental company who owns it. I don't think there obviously is a person behind it all, but it's a company that owns it, or at least that's letting it. Sally, you're absolutely right. If a crime isn't random, then it's targeted. Yeah. I think what people have latched onto is that it's targeted against a person. But I've said I don't think if it were targeted one person, you'd murder one person. You wouldn't take a massive risk, much more of a risk than you need to. You'd you'd buy a gun, or you'd stab them in the back. You'd do something to take out that person on their own very quickly. You'd not break into a house. Well, actually, you didn't break in, but you'd not walk into a house, take a huge risk, and murder 4 of them. You wouldn't. There was another good comment about the landlord. Could it be something to do with the landlord, or could it be? Oh, I can't find it. Oh, that's annoying. Give me a sec. Please hold. It was a good comment though. Can't find it. Here we go. Carson. Who owns the house? Could it be a connection to the landlord? I don't think so, for the fact that if it was something to do with the landlord, like the landlord being responsible, it's the worst business decision they've ever made. If it's targeted towards the landlord, I don't think so. You'd target the landlord's property, not the landlord's rental, in my opinion. It just seems like, I think it's that house knowing that there's 5 girls in there, maybe 5 girls that that represent something that they don't like. I've seen the newest media that's come out has talked about the incel angle. So this is the last clip that I've got to play you from Fox News, and they're now talking about the incel angle. And I've been intimating about an incel angle during my talks, during my videos about the profile, that this is the representation. These are exemplars of people that they don't like. So don't know whether, yeah, here we go. So this is a forensic psychologist, Chris Mohandy, said that the brutal nature of the murders, combined with the appearance of the victims as popular students on campus, leads him to believe that law enforcement should take a closer look at the suspect as being an incel. An incel, which is short for involuntary celibate, refers to a misogynistic subculture of romantically frustrated men who frequently share their anger online about not being able to find a partner. I just think that that's something that should be taken very, very seriously. So we'll play this. So yeah, another company that might copyright claim, but anyway. Karen, I've just talked about that. The claims about Xana's mom arrest record. I've talked about that about less than 10 minutes ago. I think it's a low blow. I do not think, like they've said, law enforcement have said, listen, right, I'll play you the previous clip that I just played less than 10 minutes ago, right here. They do not believe drugs are involved. So Xana's mother's record is irrelevant. She's a grieving mother. Leave her arrest record out of it. In my opinion, listen.
Today, they say there's no evidence at this point that drugs were involved at all.
So no evidence drugs were involved at all. So why is someone's arrest record for drugs relevant? It's not, in my opinion. Okay, right, let's listen to this dude here. I don't know whether I'm going to play it all, but let's just listen. I might just play a little bit. Okay.
All right, let's turn to James Fitzgerald. He's a retired FBI criminal profiler and forensic linguist who worked on high-profile cases, including finding...
Is that the right clip? I want the forensic psychologist. Maybe it's on this clip. Or is it that one? Oh, I don't know. Let's just play it anyway.
The Unabomber. He's also the author of A Journey to the Center of the Mind. James, we couldn't have a better, more experienced guest for this story, this very tragic story. What are your instincts telling you about this case?
My instincts are telling me that after almost 2 weeks of this investigation being undertaken by the police, the victimology so far, that is the backgrounds of the individual victims, Madison, Ethan, Kaylee, and Xana, have not brought about any fruitful investigative leads for them. And that's bothersome because automatically you were thinking of an ex-boyfriend or someone that maybe Ethan had a fight with or something like that. But apparently that inner circle has been resolved, or at least no further investigations are involving that. So now the police investigators have to go into the outer perimeter of this investigation, look at pizza delivery people, look at Uber drivers, things like that. So, but that's only if it's a personal connection to this crime. I'm leaning in that direction at this point, but boy, after 2 weeks, you think some lead would have come up. I'm not ruling out the incel factor, that is involuntary celibacy, and that is kind of a subculture within our country of mostly younger men who feel they're not dating the kind of women they would like to date. And while most of them, the vast majority, are not violent, some do have violent ideation, and they do want to carry out threats and actually take actions against people. Is it possible they saw the young women here as Stacy's? That's the nickname for attractive women, or the young man Ethan as a Chad? That's something that I know the profilers and behaviorists are looking into, all the online footprints of those type people. Or could it be a sexual sadist who travels the country and does some of these things elsewhere, including the one in Oregon that we talked about? These are some of the factors that the investigators right now, Rachel, are looking at.
So what is the profile for somebody?
So we know that the couple that were murdered in Oregon, we know that they've been ruled out. A link between that has been ruled out. Personally, I don't think this is a serial killer who travels around the country as a sexual sadist. That's just my opinion. I think this is someone who knows that house, who knows that area. It could be that, you know, another Israel Keys who stakes at a house for 2 years, but I don't think they've been living in that house for 2 years. You know, so I think it's someone local, I do. And I think it's someone who's targeted that house because of who lives there, but not a personal attack, if you will. So it may not even be somebody who's been spurned by them in the past, but it's the representation of pretty girls that they can't attain. The typical incel. So I'm going to talk about profile now. Let's have a listen.
Kills in this manner.
Well, I'm certainly leaning towards an adult male. It takes a lot. You know, shooting someone with a gun is one thing. You pull a trigger and that it's basically over and done with. But a knife wounding with a knife or killing with a knife is a whole different set of physical and emotional reactions. And times that by 4, as we have in this case. And you have a different kind of offender. People for years will say, well, Zodiac and Unabomber are the same people. No, Unabomber was a long distance killer with the bombs. Zodiac was up close and personal with knives and some weapons, 2 different people. So this person, this offender, has a violent ideation about him. And although the crime itself is not that sophisticated, the 4 corners of the crime itself, let's face it, he used one of the oldest weapons available after a rock and a club that is a sharp or slashing type of instrument. But now, but how he got into the scene, how he perhaps a pre-offense behavior was, how he explored perhaps the interior of the apartment or had schematics about it, or actually was in there on other times. And of course, the post-offense behavior, getting away with this crime. He apparently left no fingerprints behind, no blood on his part, and no DNA. And there's some sophistication before and after the crime, even if the violent crime itself lacks some of that therein.
Wow, Jane Fitzgerald, so much to think about.
I don't think we know that he hasn't left any DNA. We haven't been told that. I think that's his assumption. Just like I think it was Nancy Grace's assumption that the DNA was found and wasn't in Cordis. I think that there are some assumptions being made by these people as well, but we don't know that no DNA was found. We just know that we've not got any results that have been told to us yet, but it's early days in terms of, you know, getting DNA back and stuff like that. Rightfield says, so we're back to rage killing. I don't think this is a rage killing in that this is frenzied, that somebody's just gone absolutely nuts. I don't think it's that kind of rage killing. I think there's hate involved. I think that's the rage. It's the inner rage. But I think this is very planned. I think it was very cold. I think it was calculated. I think they've worked out how to get in, how to get out. I think they've been watching that house. Again, just my opinion, but I think when we talk about a rage killing, we usually think of like somebody that just goes mad, just is frenzied. I don't think this was the case. I think it was someone who knew what they were doing, knew how to kill with a knife, enjoyed killing with a knife. It was their weapon of choice. I think the rage, the anger is inside at the target, i.e. the house of 5 women. So yeah, so that's what I've got for you. That's it. That's what I've got for you. That's all I've got for you. But we've been on for quite a while, close to 3. It's going to be 3 hours. Don't normally stay on for this long, but I did have quite a bit to go through, and I have been kind of stopping and starting. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Should be in bed. Well, I'm getting close to that. I'm getting close to that. It's not quite 3 hours. It's only 2.5, really. It's only 2.5. Oh, thanks, Pat. Oh, you're still working. Dear me. Yeah, there's the tip lines. Thank you for posting that up, Trixie Star. Yes, it is 1 p.m. So tomorrow, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. So I will be streaming it. I'll be live. And if I can find a stream, I don't know who's streaming it yet. But if I find out which news channel is streaming it, then I will stream it. I'll come on a bit before, and then I'll stay on after to discuss, because I think that's going to be big. It's going to be big. So it's 1 p.m. Mountain Time, which I believe is 8 p.m. my time. So I will be back here, and it'll be on this channel, because I've got no 3 hours left on my account on Michelle After Dark. So it'll be on this channel. But tomorrow, I'll put the scheduler up tomorrow, so that it will, when the scheduler goes up, it'll show the time in your local time. So you don't need to try and work it out from my time. It will show up in your time. So I'll come on about half an hour before, and then I'll stay and we'll discuss what they say afterwards. I can own the Viking identity. I can. A little bit, yeah. Thank you, Just Saying, for the $5. That's so kind of you. It is a lot to think about. It's a lot. This is such a complex case. There's the super sticker coming through. It comes through on YouTube a little bit quicker than it does on StreamYard. Yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow night. Well, tomorrow night my time, tomorrow daytime, tomorrow afternoon Mountain Time, to hear what Chief Huff and the other officers concerned have got to say about the Michael Vaughan investigation. I can't call it. I feel so nervous. I feel so sad for Brandy and Tyler. Whatever the outcome is of that press conference, I just can't imagine what they've gone through, what they're still going through, what they still have to go through. But we're going to find out what the results of the digging up the house, that yard have been. So it's been a long wait. But been a long wait. But we're going to find out whether they found anything or not, whether we're back to square one with that case. What are my thoughts on Abby and Libby's death certificates found on Ancestry? Are they? Really? Oh, I didn't even know they were on Ancestry. Who's put them on? Who's managed to get them and put them on? I don't know. I don't know what people do. I don't know. These people are crazy. People are crazy. Oop, wrong one, sorry. What do I think about the guy who threatened kids with a knife back in September near there? Been caught. Been caught today. I don't think they've released the name as of yet. At least they hadn't when I went live. Looks like ancestry images. I don't even know how can you get a death certificate. I suppose some counties release them, don't they? Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I really don't. It's just people are crazy. Why would they want to do that? Yeah, so apparently this guy's been caught. So I'm sure that they're looking at that person very closely. I'm sure that that person is going to be grilled, going to be interrogated to within an inch of their life regarding these murders. Pretty sure of it. So we're going to wait and see on that one. But at least they've caught that person, or at least they've arrested somebody for that today. Oh, they seem bogus. Oh, well, there you go then. There you go then. Probably nonsense. I'm not even gonna look it up. I'm not even gonna look it up. I don't know. Oh dear. Did I see what's that? Did I see where Kaylee's dad said, "I'll give you my address. I'm not scared"? Yes. Yes. Yeah, that would have been me. That would be me. Exactly. I like that guy. He says what he thinks. Means what he says. Anyway, right, guys, I gotta go. Gotta go and get some sleep. So I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll have a video out tomorrow. I don't even know what case I'm going to talk about. I'll have a video out on Michelle After Dark, and then I'll be back on this channel for the Michael Vaughan presser tomorrow afternoon Mountain Time. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, whatever you're doing for the rest of it. Have a good one. Thank you, as always, for the super chats and super stickers. Thank you to the mods. You are amazing. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.